Chinese characters, or kanji as they are referred to in Japanese, became the foundation of Japan's written language, used not only for communication but also to convey philosophy, government policies, and religious texts. But Japan did not simply copy China's script, it adapted it. Over centuries, the Japanese developed their own phonetic alphabets, hiragana and katakana, while retaining kanji for more complex concepts. Even today, roughly 40 to 60% of the Japanese lexicon consists of words derived from Chinese, making China's linguistic influence deeply embedded in Japan's cultural DNA. They got some nice displays over there. Let's go take a look.
So like China. This is looks like China.
This is probably the most Chinese part of Japan.
Of course, because this is Chinatown.
Typically marked by ornate archways known as paifang, these districts often feature symbolic elements like stone lions, dragons, and phoenix motifs. Temples, clan associations, and traditional pavilions serve as cultural anchors, while busy restaurants and street markets offer a taste of China far from its shores. Historically, Chinatowns were sometimes viewed with suspicion, associated with crime, or seen as insular communities. But over time, as cultural pluralism grew and the economic influence of ethnic Chinese populations strengthened, Chinatowns became symbols of cross-cultural exchange and diversity. A gateway to another world. Yet only minutes from central Yokohama, Chinatown is a place where time and borders seem to blur. The scent of roasted duck and freshly steamed buns drifts through the narrow alleys, while vibrant red lanterns sway gently overhead. Temples and neon-lit storefronts stand side by side, creating a unique fusion of traditional energy and modern vibes. But beyond the lively storefronts and colorful facades, Chinatown holds a much deeper story. One of migration, resilience, and cultural preservation. But before we wander through its bustling streets, let's take a moment to uncover how this corner of Yokohama became the largest Chinatown in all of Japan, and one of, if not the most, iconic in the world. What is a Chinatown? Is it simply a neighborhood with Chinese restaurants and lanterns? Or is it something far deeper? A cultural footprint that speaks to migration, heritage, and identity. Should we go down this way first? Chinatowns are urban enclaves where ethnic Chinese communities have lived, worked, and thrived for generations. Found in cities across Southeast Asia, North America, Europe, Australia, and even parts of Africa, they are more than just tourist attractions. They are living archives of diaspora history.
If you come to Chinatown, you can meet your batu and duck.
Today, they serve as vibrant spaces where traditional festivals like Lunar New Year, Dragon Boat Festival, and Mid-Autumn Festival are celebrated, drawing both locals and tourists. In some cities, new archways and decorative elements have been added, sometimes criticized as inauthentic, catering to tourist expectations rather than genuine heritage. And we all know there's dragons that we see, right? Every time you see a dragon, well, it must be from China.
Like artwork on the walls and stuff.
Beyond the lanterns and street food, Chinatowns reveal the evolving relationship between Chinese diasporas and their host countries, a testament to the enduring influence of migration and cultural adaptation.
Hi, we're here and my twins is waiting for me. We are here at Copyright Place. Copyright Chinatown.
Yokohama Chukagai in Japanese is the largest Chinatown in Japan and one of the biggest in the world. It traces its origins to 1859 when Yokohama port opened to foreign trade. Chinese merchants, many from Guangzhou, settled in the area, establishing businesses, restaurants, and cultural institutions. Initially, the community served as a trade hub, with Chinese immigrants acting as intermediaries between Japan and the wider world. And over time, the area became a vibrant cultural district, famous for its authentic Chinese cuisines, temples, and festivals. Despite setbacks like the Great Kanto earthquake of 1923 and World War II, Chinatown rebounded, growing into a major tourist attraction. Today, Yokohama Chinatown is home to hundreds of restaurants and shops, with landmarks like the colorful Chinese gates and the annual Lunar New Year celebrations drawing visitors from across Japan and beyond. When you walk through Yokohama Chinatown, you're not just entering a vibrant commercial district. You're stepping into a living remnant of Japan's centuries-old relationship with China. The lantern-lit streets and aroma of Sichuan pepper are modern echoes of a bond that shaped Japan's language, trade, and cultural identity. To understand why Chinatown holds such a profound cultural significance, we have to step back, far back, to the beginning, when Japan was still in its formative years, looking across the sea toward a civilization far more advanced. Long before the written word or organized states, the genetic imprint of China was already embedded in Japan. Archaeological studies reveal that during the Yayoi period, waves of migrants from the Asian mainland, including parts of what is now China and Korea, crossed the sea and settled in Japan. These settlers brought with them wet rice agriculture, metallurgy, and weaving techniques, fundamentally transforming Japan's society. Modern DNA analysis shows that a significant portion of the Japanese population carries genetic markers from these early migrants, linking the two cultures at an ancestral level. As Japan's society advanced, so did its need for record-keeping and expression. Lacking a formal writing system, Japan adopted Chinese script, sometime around the 5th century. Chinese characters, or kanji as they are referred to in Japanese, became the foundation of Japan's written language, used not only for communication but also to convey philosophy, government policies, and religious texts. Even today, roughly 40 to 60% of the Japanese lexicon consists of words derived from Chinese, making China's linguistic influence deeply embedded in Japan's cultural DNA. It wasn't only words that flowed from China, ideas did too. From the 6th century onwards, Buddhism, which had already taken root in China, was introduced to Japan. Chinese monks and scholars traveled to Japan, bringing with them scriptures, artifacts, and artistic influences. Japanese pilgrims, in turn, journeyed to China's Tang Dynasty to study Buddhist practices, returning with knowledge that would shape Japanese temples, art, and philosophy for centuries. Even Shinto architecture and design motifs were influenced by Chinese aesthetics, from the curved eaves of shrines to the Zen-inspired garden layouts. As China became a global maritime superpower, its influence over Japan expanded through trade. During the Tang and Song dynasties, China dominated maritime commerce, with vast trading networks stretching from the Middle East to Southeast Asia. Japan, still a fledgling superpower, became a vital trade partner, importing silk, porcelain, medicinal herbs, and luxury goods. By the time of the Ming Dynasty, China's massive trade fleets, including the legendary voyages of Zheng He, sailed as far as Africa and the Arabian Peninsula, making China the world's preeminent trading power. Though Japan's own maritime ventures were modest in comparison, it was deeply reliant on Chinese imports, fostering a steady flow of cultural and commercial exchange. Even during periods of official diplomatic isolation, such as Japan's self-imposed sakoku policy during the Edo period, you can see more of that in our Yokohama video, Chinese merchants continued to play a key role in Japan's economy, using designated trade enclaves like Nagasaki's Dejima to bypass restrictions. Fast forward to the 19th century, and Yokohama's opening as a treaty port once again made it a point of cultural convergence. Chinese merchants, drawn by the promise of trade, established a new community, Yokohama Chinatown, not far from where the ancient maritime routes once connected the two nations. The Chinatown of today is in many ways a modern echo of those ancient trade exchanges. The spices, silks, and porcelain, once carried by Chinese junks, are now represented by dim sum shops, silk boutiques, and herbal medicine stores. The Lunar New Year parades that fill the streets with color and music are remnants of centuries-old festivals, once celebrated in port cities along the China Sea. Zooming out beyond Yokohama, the global prevalence of Chinatowns speaks to China's historical influence as a maritime and cultural superpower. From Southeast Asia to North America, Chinatowns formed as commercial and cultural outposts, often in cities with long-standing trade or migration ties to China. But they are more than ethnic enclaves. They are symbols of globalization, enduring cultural bridges that connect nations and preserve traditions. What began as a settlement of traders grew into a vibrant neighborhood, introducing Cantonese cuisine. It quickly became a melting pot of culture and commerce, fostering cross-cultural exchange. But Yokohama's Chinatown is not unique in its existence. It is part of a global phenomenon. From San Francisco to London, Bangkok to Sydney, Chinatowns have emerged in nearly every major city. Their formation was often driven by necessity in the face of exclusion or discrimination. And yet, despite being formed on foreign soil, Chinatowns became cultural anchors, both preserving the traditions of the homeland and adapting to the local environment, while also creating economic lifelines for many immigrant families. Yokohama Chinatown, like its counterparts around the world, offers a living lesson in coexistence. Here, Chinese customs intermingle with Japanese sensibilities, creating a hybrid cultural landscape. But beyond cultural enrichment, Chinatown plays a significant role in local economies. The restaurants, shops, and markets of Yokohama Chinatown generate millions in revenue, supporting not only Chinese-Japanese businesses, but also attracting international tourists. It's a thriving commercial district that boosts tourism and keeps local economies vibrant. Moreover, Chinatowns serve as safe havens for immigrant communities, providing familiarity and support networks for new arrivals. In the early days of Yokohama Chinatown, Chinese migrants found refuge in their shared language, food, and customs, a sense of home away from home. Today, while largely a tourist hub, Chinatown still retains a strong sense of identity, preserving its language, cuisine, and cultural practices. On a broader scale, Chinatowns symbolize the beauty of multiculturalism. They are living reminders that diversity enriches societies through cuisine, art, language, and commerce. In Yokohama, visitors can enjoy authentic dim sum in the morning and fresh ramen in the evening, reflecting the effortless fusion of cultures. Some may even argue that ramen was actually originally from China itself. Yet, beyond the food and festivities, Chinatowns also stand as symbols of resilience, formed by immigrants who overcame hardship and discrimination to build communities that would thrive for generations and benefit all those who visited. The global prevalence of Chinatowns speaks to China's historical influence as a maritime and cultural superpower. From Southeast Asia to North America, Chinatowns formed as commercial and cultural outposts, often in cities with long-standing trade or migration ties to China, enduring cultural bridges that connect nations and preserve traditions. The dumpling shops in Yokohama and San Francisco both serve recipes passed down through generations, while the temples and tea houses in Bangkok and London share the same architectural echoes of the Fujian or Cantonese migrants who built them. Chinatowns, wherever they exist, they are living testaments to the interwoven histories of nations. In Yokohama, Chinatown stands as a cultural bridge, one that speaks to the enduring influence of China on Japan and on the world. But this is just one chapter in Yokohama's story. Beyond these narrow streets, more tales of resilience, migration, and cultural fusion await. So the next time you find yourself here, pause for a moment. Step off the main path. You might just discover a piece of the world that you never knew existed, right here, in the heart of Japan, in front of your very eyes.
Yeah.